Are we live? I can't tell. Are we live actually? Is that the Twitch lagging? Right. So chat, are we live? We're live. Look at that. Look at that beautiful, beautiful platform. Like very stable. Doesn't have any bugs. Anyway, so I suppose we can more or less confidently say that we're live. I'm gonna just trust you on that. And hello everyone, and welcome to yet another Zoom session. How about it? But you didn't expect that shit to happen. So let's make a little bit of an announcement, and officially start the stream. So this is going to be a Red Circle live on Twitch. And what are we doing today on Twitch? On Twitch today we're doing a paid Zeek stream. Believe it or not, that's what we're doing today. So there was a meme in my channel for quite some time that if somebody actually pays me in donations like $300, I would do like an entire Zeek stream. And the reason why I set that, you know, sort of donation goal is that people were constantly asking me to do that stream, and I was so annoyed that I decided, no, I'm not going to do that. Right, so I'm going to only do that if somebody like gives me like money to do that. And finally, after so many years, somebody donated $300, but in Bitcoins, right, because I can't accept donations in any other currencies. And yeah, so we're doing a Zeek stream today, and all of the money was sent to Ukraine humanitarian help. So you can find the links in the description and also in the project command here in the chat. So alright, so I'm gonna also give the link to the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Zoring, and I'm gonna ping everyone who's interested in being pinged, and there we go, the stream is officially started. I never really tried Zeek properly, so I think I actually downloaded it once, tried to do a hello world and then just deleted it. This is kind of going to be my like first and a half impression of Zeek. And I also tried it like very long time ago. I never actually wrote anything serious in it. And yeah, so I think I just like tried to make Hello World and compile it. Anyway, so let's go ahead and download it. Right, so I didn't even try it before the stream, so I don't even know what's gonna what I'm supposed to expect in here. So my prediction is that, so the creator of Zeek, I'm pretty sure the creator of Zeek actually paid these $300, so I make the stream, and he updated all of the binaries in here so they steal the Jaya compiler from my machine when I run it for the first time. So I'm pretty sure that's what's gonna happen. I'm joking, by the way, so it's totally a joke. So let me see. So I'm gonna go to the third-party dependence. So no, I don't know who paid me, by the way. So I don't know who paid me because it was via Bitcoin, so it was completely anonymous. So I'm not claiming that the creator of Zeek actually paid me, so I don't know who paid me. So let me move this entire stuff, but whoever paid me, thank you so much. All of your money will go to the good cause, and on top of that, people who always wanted to see me programming in Zeek will see me programming in Zeek. So I think it's a win-win situation. Anonymous Zeek lover, yeah, that's who donated all of that. Alright, so let me actually start TeamUX, and let's unpack. So we're doing Zeek unboxing, so let's actually see the unboxing experience of this language, right? So we have some sort of a tarball that we downloaded from the official website, so, and let's see how it unpacks, right? So we have a huge executable, right? And a lot of small headers in C for some reason. Okay, I can say that was very quick, so unboxing experience is more or less pleasant, right? So let's actually go into the folder and let's take a look at what we have in here. All right, so we literally have a single executable. Isn't that cool? Do we have a single executable? If I try to find files that are executable, right? Would I? Yeah, there is only one executable in here. Look at that. So that's pretty cool. Isn't it? So let's take a look at this file itself. What is this file? Okay, so maybe I'm gonna actually split my screen in half so you can see like everything. Let me see. So this is an ELF64 executable statically linked. Would you look at that? So it doesn't depend on anything. And yeah, it is statically linked. So let's try to run it for the first time and see what's gonna greet us. All right, so that was actually pretty straightforward. So you have subcommands, initialize Zig build application in the CWD. Why do I have to initialize anything? Build project from build.zig. Can I just like create a file and compile it? Do I have to like make a project and initialize build system and stuff like that? Can I just, you know, build a program without all of that, you know, bureaucracy or anything like that? So maybe I want to actually have some sort of a highlighting. Let me see. Can I have a highlighting? Just a second, I need to close this shit. So Zig, so we do have a Zig mod. Let me go to Emacs. And in here, I want to find the place where I usually install some intermediate mods. So this is going to be Zig mod. And let's go ahead and evaluate that and install the Zig mod. So it's contacting Melpa. I hope it's not going to take too much time, but yeah. I hope you do not regret paying me $300 just for this. Alright, so let me go and test my Zig mode. Right, so this is a Zig mode. It says Zig, which is nice. And let me go somewhere here. So if I so can we have a hello world? Let's take a look at the documentation. Okay, so we have a hello world in here, and I want to just that's a very noisy hello world. This is probably the most noisy hello world I've ever seen. It's so noisy they had to like put this thing into a separate binding. So it doesn't look ridiculous like that. Anyway, so let me actually try to save that and see how it goes. So programming third party Zig hello.zig. Okay, so we're there, and now if I try to do something like run Zig, is it gonna do the trick? Is it gonna download some sort of dependencies? What is it gonna do? Looks pretty fast. Okay, so it says hello world. I don't know what exactly it did, but it just like took some time. Is it gonna be always like that? Why? What is it doing for 2 seconds? I mean, I know that I have 10 years old laptop, but what exactly is it doing for 2 seconds? Is it like type checking? Well, anyway, so can I just build an executable? Okay. So there is a init exe. Can I just like build exe? Looks like I can. Nice. Okay, so and the question is the executable itself static? It is a static executable. Right, so and if I double check it like that, so it's LDD. Okay, and if I try to do hello is fine. Everything is fine. And I always wanted to check, can I just do it like that? Will it still work? So let me try to do that. Yeah, it will still work. Why did you decide to split it? Let's actually keep it like that. I think it should be like on the front page of the language. Yeah, this is how you write hello world. Anyway, I'm sorry. It might be noisy. Yeah, I think it's just like Rust, right? You just have to get used to it. Oh, you just have to get used to it. Okay, so what we're gonna have? So we can have comments and some other things. So, okay, so the idea is that the structures are values as well. And to define a structure, you sort of assign that structure to that name, so then you can use it like that. Okay, so that's fine, I suppose. That is fine. So let me see some other things. We should probably decide what exactly we're going to write. Usually when I'm learning the language, I like to write a game, right? So I already wrote a Snake game. I'm in the middle of writing of Tetris game, right, in Jai. And so what is left for Zig? I don't know, so maybe something like Breakout. I was thinking about Breakout, like because it's a very simple game, right? A Breakout game. Right, so essentially, yeah, it's sort of like a one-player ping pong, right, so to speak. You have these things and you're supposed to destroy them with this ball, and you can sort of bounce it off of this platform that you control, and that sounds like a pretty easy game to implement, right? So I have all of the necessary mental tools, mathematical tools and programming tools in my head to implement this game. And the only thing I need is an ability to render rectangles on some sort of window. And the question is, how can I do that with Zig? Right, can I just link with SDL? Is there any examples? Okay, so Zig is a relatively popular language, so that means I should be able to find some examples for SDL, right? So I'm gonna just Google up Zig SDL2. All right, some people were setting up Zig for game development. Okay, so dev community, let's actually find out. Visual Studio Code. Setting up Zig. So, but I don't have Visual Studio Code, so that's kind of the problem. So, alright, so you can do C include. That is very interesting, actually. I kind of like that. I kind of like that. So, can I just do it like this? Can I say, okay, include a C file. Include a C file. Will that work? But maybe it never actually does anything on this directive. What if I provide incorrect file in here? Will it fail? Because who knows? Well, it will not fail. Told you. So, can I just literally put any gibberish in here? Can I? Okay, so you can't put any gibberish in here. All right. So, but okay. Let me see. I suppose that I think it's more of like sort of like lazy, right? So it's not really used until you just try to, you know, call to a function from this thing, right? So that's probably what we need to do in here. And there we go. So I'm gonna just put this thing in here, and there we go. Okay, so we now have errors. C import failed. Okay, so SDL not found. And this is usually because I think it's located somewhere in SDL2, right? So this is where it is located. So C import failed, libc headers not available, compilation does not link against libc. Okay, so compilation doesn't link against libc. How do I link against libc? Nobody knows. Read documentation. Okay, so let me see. So that is very... It would be kind of cool if the compiler actually told me how to link against libc. Like, so you need to do that. So the compiler knows what I need. It knows precisely what I need. It probably even knows how to do that, but it won't tell me. Speaking of user experience, by the way, so it's not that big of a deal. So just I can Google it up. Zig libc. So Zig ships with libc. Okay. So link. Okay, so you probably have to do this build Zig thingy. Right. So everything points to the fact that like it wants to like have this build Zig. So maybe this is what we need to do. Okay, so let's actually do a proper project. So I was hoping that I won't have to do that, but looks like I have to do that. Sure, that's totally fine. Let me go to prob. So how are we gonna call the game? How are we gonna call the game? So it's gonna be Breakout, so let's call it, I don't know, Zig Out. I don't know how to call it, sorry. Now I'm gonna move this thing in here, and I'm gonna remove this in tester. And let me try to run it. So this is gonna be, it's located somewhere in like third party, Zig, I should probably add it to path, but I'm too lazy. I'm too lazy to add it to path, so I'm not gonna do that. So build a project, so initialize build application in, okay, I see what we need to do, let's do init.exe, okay. Creating build, next, try build help, okay, so, and then in SRC it has my main Zig, okay, so that's totally fine, and then I can try to do something like, wait a second, since this entire thing is, how is it called? It's just a single executable, but it's also located within, can I just copy that executable here? It's fine. Okay, so is it building? Is it building? So it's doing something. What game are you creating? Breakout. So also keep in mind that I'm seeing this language pretty much for the first time. Right, so I never read anything about it, so I'm just going off of the like first experience, right? So I'm just like looking at how the language teaches you how to use itself, because quite often languages do that, right? So they can explain you how to use themselves in help commands, also in error messages. By the way, there's something like game designish in error messages of the compiled languages, you know what I mean? Because error messages of the compiled languages, they are basically the interface of the compilers, and they can sort of like guide you and teach you how to use the language, right? Because they can always see, okay, you're doing this thing incorrectly, but I kind of understand what you're trying to do, so try to do that. Like Rust compiler is trying to do something like that, which is kind of cool. So yeah, you can basically bake a tutorial on how to use the language into the error messages of the language. You know what I mean? Right. So I think more languages have to like adapt this approach. Because maybe we should treat languages as games, right? So you sort of like, you treat the user of the language as a player, and you sort of like give them a hidden tutorial, right, on how to use the language. Right, because game developers like this sort of like hidden tutorials in the game. So you just play the game, and the game teaches you how to play it, but you don't notice that, right? You think you just discover these things by yourself, right? But in fact, it's just like the game design of the level that guides you to discover those things. All right, so everything seems fine. So we have cache and what is that? So some sort of, it looks like some sort of like a data structure based on the file system, right? So there's a zig out, which is the executable that I need, right? So that's fine. Okay, that's pretty cool. So that means I want to move this stuff in here. So we also have tests. I mean, who needs tests in 2020? Who writes tests in 2021, people? It's a waste of time and resources. Do you guys know, have you guys heard about like booking.org? I think, I don't know if it's booking.org or booking.com, because it's banned in a country where I live, so I don't care. But so the thing about Booking is that they never write any tests. And you know how they solve the problem of, low quality software. So essentially every month they allocate like $1 million, or roughly $1 million, for refunds caused by bugs in the software. And they tell their developers, like, don't write any tests, just ship the features we tell you as quickly as possible. Don't care, just check if they work, like, roughly. Don't write any tests. And then they just, like, refund if there is some sort of a bug. And they have so much money that it's cheaper for them to allocate $1 million every month instead of writing unit tests, because it's just a waste of time. It doesn't allow them to ship the features very quickly. And who writes tests? Just have $1 million every month, right? And you don't have to write any tests. It's that easy. It's that fucking easy. Jesus Christ, people. Anyway, so let's try to compile this thing. Pay to win, yeah, it's literally pay to win. Okay. Ooh, that's actually pretty cool. Okay, so I never tried to do this thing. Let me see. So the fact that they didn't, the fact that they included it doesn't really mean anything, right? Because I also have to try to use that. Okay, so let's copy paste this thing in here. All right, so what does it say? C doesn't link with C. Okay, so and if I see this stuff correctly, link you. That's a lot of stuff in here. That's a lot of different stuff for just building a simple program. Okay, so and in here when we have an executable, right? So let me see. So here is an executable. Okay, so it starts in here. So set target, set build mode, and then install. But can I also say, okay, link with the system library? Can I do something like that? Link with the system library. Why does it take so much time? Okay, so C import failed. Right, C import failed, file not found, SDL2, SDL. Which is rather interesting because if I take a look at include, right, SDL2 here is SDL. So maybe it doesn't know where to search for that specific library, so it doesn't use user include as the folder where to search. So the question is, how can we do that? So we have builder, right? We have builder, and the question is, can I find documentation for the builder? Right, so so there is this thing, but can I click on this thing and just like find the builder, so compilation. Don't really care about that. So built-in function. Is there like a global documentation, like a reference where I just, you know, like in Rust, where I can do like Rust app docs and then show me like full documentation or something like that? But like I'm not sure where to search for this thing. Like where can I get Zeek docs? Okay, so reference. All right, so maybe that's fine. Maybe that's fine. C primitive types, build system, build an executable. Standard release, add static library. I rather prefer like discover that myself instead of reading a lot of these things. Instead of reading a lot of these things. Okay, so where is that thing? So we just do that. Do they explain how to like link with that? Right, okay, so here is the build. I should have actually, okay, there you go. So you add include dir. Cool. Add leap path. You also will probably need to add leap path. Okay, so let's actually try to do that. I think I found it finally. It was hard, but I found it anyway. Okay, add include dir. And how do we do that? So we have SDL path and that's very interesting. So I'm gonna just try to do that. User include. It's gonna take some time. Okay, there we go. And let's give it a try and see how it goes. Okay, so cimper failed. Really? Okay, so we can actually do link libc. All right. I suppose we can do that. So I should have actually looked into this thing a little bit earlier. Right, so yeah, let's give it a try. Maybe I don't have to do that. Maybe I'll have to. I wish it was also a little bit faster, right? So I could iterate a little bit faster as well. But yeah. Because every time I change something, it's kind of tedious to wait so much time, just like, you know, to iterate. All right. So what was that? File not found. There is a std leap search leap. Okay, so people are sending some weird links that I don't want to click. All right. Okay, how are you supposed to find that? Why is this not like in a why is this not in the front page of of the website? I don't understand. Right, this has to be like the first thing because like I don't care about everything else. Thank you so much. All right, so how does it help me? Is there any like a example, like a full example that I can just like use? Because I don't know. So made a simple paint program. Okay, so maybe we can just steal something from a simple paint program. Okay, so there's a gist. Can we steal that from a gist? All right. All right. So it's using, okay, so that's pretty cool. It's using SDL, but what about the build? Does it have the build part? That's what I care about. Doesn't have a build. Are you serious? How do you build then? Oh, you're supposed to, okay, and it doesn't use the build system. Maybe I shouldn't use the build system as well, you know? Let's actually give it a try. Right, because I don't really like these sort of complications, and if I can just like avoid these sort of complications, that would be actually perfect for me. Right, so that would be absolutely ideal for me. And then, right, so that's how we're supposed to build this entire stuff, I think. And we'll probably have to do something like, where is that? Third party, Zig. And there we go. Can it build this stuff? Unrecognized parameter library path. So it's probably already not usable at this point. Okay, so so somebody actually made. All right, so let's take a look. I don't know. Where is the example? Okay, so I suppose. Now, link system library C, link system lib SDL. Okay, Jesus. Also, apparently, the build doesn't have to be this complicated, right? So it's a lot of like different stuff that is not really needed. I don't know. Do we need anything else? I don't think we need anything else. I'm gonna just like go ahead and run it. Do I do that correctly? I think I do that correctly. So I need to I don't know. It's just like too many little things, too many moving parts that I have to learn, and it's really not straightforward. Maybe I'm dumb. Who knows? I think I'm just dumb. I don't know. So this language looks like a It's created for people who are really smart and have a lot of time like to read about how to use all of these tools and stuff like that. I'm really dumb and I don't really have that much time to read about all of that. So really sorry. Finally, it works. Okay, cool. So let me also remove this stuff. I'm gonna give the link to this thing in the description, right? For anyone who's watching on YouTube, right? Where's my description? Okay, so this is that, and how to use SDL, right? Maybe an example of SDL2 application. There we go. And I also need to give the link to the website, right? So let's give the link to the website. All right, cool. Now, so let me see. So it kind of worked, right? So, and it even worked after I tried to touch this thing, right? So it even worked. That means if I try to put some gibberish in here, right, it will fail, right? Please tell me that it will. Yes, thank you so much. So it didn't ignore that. It didn't ignore that. I really like that. Okay, cool. So maybe I'm going to continue looking through that example, right? Because I know that it works, right? So I should probably continue using this example. Thank you so much, Funcchi. Okay, cool. So we want to initialize something, right? So we're going to be initializing the video. And on top of that, if this entire thing returns actually something negative. So it says not equal 0, but as far as I know, SDL functions, in case of an error, they return negative values. So I personally prefer like check whether it's less than 0. It's like a personal preference completely. So, and here we use CSDL log, right, which is rather interesting. So we're using the logging facility of SDL, which is probably a good thing, right, because the SDL is supposed to be ported to different platforms, and different platforms may have different logging systems. So that's fine. Return error. SDL initialization failed. But where is it defined though? Is it defined in here? But we're literally reusing the C library. So where is this thing coming from? Or is this thing that we just like... That's a very strange. Okay, so I'm gonna just like copy paste this thing, right? So I'm gonna copy paste this thing, and I'm gonna try to return it. And let's try to see if it is going to like say anything. Where did it get this thing from? So what I presume it does, it parses the C, right? It parses the C and it just like enables you to use the C functions, right? So it sort of can integrate with the C language without writing any bindings or anything like that. So, and then where this thing is coming from, it's probably not coming from C, because I don't remember in C version this kind of thing. And is it coming from Zeek itself, right? Where is it coming from? So, and if it's coming from nowhere, can I just put anything in here and it will still compile? It will still compile. Interesting. I really like this language. So there is a couple of places where you can put literally anything and it will just compile. I really like it. So so, and also on top of that, okay, let me so if it compiles, it works. By the way, for people who are going crazy about me not reading documentation, welcome to my channel. This is how I learn things. Yes. So please don't get offended with my approach to learning things. So I have a lot of problem with patience and maintaining the focus. I think I have ADHD, but I never was actually diagnosed, but like I feel like I have problems with my focus. So, and this is the way I learn things. like I'm not doing that intention to piss anyone off or anything like that. So this is how I learn things. So for me, the best way to learn and understand something is to actually try it, check it, and see, like, poke with it, like try to break it. This is how I learn. So don't get, you know, too angry at me for doing that. I do things this way. So yeah, because that's my approach. So, by the way, we've got some subscriptions. So, just a second. Danny the Vimer, thank you so much for Twitch Prime. Thank you. All right, so I'm really curious. So, all of that compiles. I wish it compiled a little bit faster, but I mean, yeah. I just have an old laptop, right? So that's the usual excuse that people say when their application is slow. Just buy a better computer. Okay, what is that? Did I actually put that in here? Oh yeah, so we do have that. I don't care. You know what I want to do? I want to try just comment out all of these things, right? I just want to comment out all of these things, and so why can't I run? So let me take a look. It's really non-intuitive. So run, create executable and run immediately. Can I just run it? Expects at least one positional argument. What exactly do you expect? Do you want me to do zig out? Run? Can I do run help? Do I need to read like 10 pages of documentation just to understand how to use this thing? And this thing does not explain me how to use it? I'm really sorry, I'm very dumb. I'm very dumb. Like, if the application doesn't explain me how to use it, right, so I can't understand anything, I'm sorry. So it wants some sort of a file, right, so it wants files. Okay, so builds the thing, right? Builds the things, but run doesn't just run the thing, it expects a positional argument, it expects a file. So do I have to do it like that? Is that what it wants? And if I do it like that, will it use the Zig build run? How does that make any sense? Wait a second, how am I supposed to guess? Alright. So in main... Okay. So, but what if I try to do that like that? Okay. And it runs it. Oh, okay, so this is a stack trace. Oh my god, this is a stack trace. I see. This was a stack trace. Okay, so now I understand. I'm really sorry. This language is not for me. This is definitely not for me. I'm too dumb to use this language. This language is very smart. It's just like you have to be able to have a PhD to understand how to use it. So I'm really apologize for that. Okay, so this is the stack trace, and yeah. So the error, the following command exited exit code. All right. So I guess this is really interesting, right? So errors. Let me see. Oh shit. Let me see. Errors. While errors. Okay. The error set is like enum. Nah, it doesn't explain it. Okay, whatever. So I'm gonna just like assume that it is like that. Let's continue working with this thing. Okay. So now, and also we have a defer, right? So which is actually kind of cool. It's like the goes defer, I presume, right? So it's like the goes defer, and on the exit from the scope, we're gonna just like call this thing, which is nice. The next thing we need to do, we need to create a window. Right, we need to create a window. Window position is undefined. This one is kind of sus. This one is kind of sus because I don't remember this kind of things. So what is the create let me double check. So if I go to user include SDL2, SDL, create window, so I think it's somewhere in video, create window. Right, so because you have to do X, Y, position and define. I never actually seen this constant being used before. That's actually pretty interesting. Position and define, so you can say that the position is undefined. That's pretty interesting. Right, so then here you just set some sort of a mask to indicate that. Okay, so that's totally fine, but I want to just define it because why not? Right, so might as well, by the way. Take this thing and just copy paste it into the code. Right, so we're going to have const window. So there you go. So this is a const window. I'm gonna presume that we can just use the C strings in here, right? So this is gonna be zig out. The next thing is going to be, so the position is going to be 0, this one is going to be 0, and this one is going to be, let's say, window width and window height, right? Window height. And I would like to actually define those things somewhere globally. Window width, right? So let's say that is going to be 800 and this is going to be 600. I don't know if this is a correct syntax, by the way. So I just hope that the compiler will explain me that I'm doing something wrong. But I just learned that it's not always reliable to hope for that, right? So the compiler doesn't, the Z compiler doesn't really like to teach you how to use it, right? It's just like assumes that you know how to use the compiler. It's just like literally assumes that, which maybe there's nothing wrong with that, but I kind of prefer when it like tries to teach you. You know what I mean? I think it's pretty cool. So, okay, so this is a full screen. Do I want to do resizable? I don't really want to put any flags in there, so I'm gonna just put a 0 in here. Right, that's fine. And let's see. So, and if... Okay, that's pretty cool. So this thing can return null, and there is a or else. Okay, let me actually check out or else. So or else. Why can't we just find or else? And why is it so slow? Because it tries to load like a huge amount of documentation. So it's somewhere here, but it's also not really easy to just get there. Okay, so because it's a huge language reference and it doesn't load very fast. Okay. So if A is null, returns B, otherwise returns the unwrapped value of A. That's a very specific operator, not gonna lie. It's a very specific thing. Alright, so I'm gonna just do that. Militap, thank you so much for 8 months of tier 1 subscription. So far I'm not really having that great of experience with Zeek, but again, I'm dumb, right? So if you're smart, maybe you will enjoy this language, but I'm really dumb, so I just like, it's kind of nah. Right. Okay. So, okay, this is how you sort of like, you know, check for the errors and stuff like that. Okay, so what do we have in here? So this is height, right? So let's define it like that. And what else do we have in here? So it's supposed to be C, that's fine. And unused local constant, that's very interesting. Can I just say I'm not gonna use it? Used as an identifier, okay. Without add syntax, but I don't know what is add syntax. Okay, can I just do something like this then? All right. Okay, you probably saw that. You probably, can you see the window actually flashing? So it just flashed and then it just like went away. That's pretty cool. Right, but I wonder, like, why doesn't it work like that? Const. So that's cool. Okay, so this one is going to be const window. There we go. So, and you cannot compile that because you have unused variable. That is fine. So the next thing we need to do, we need to create the renderer, right? So we need to create the renderer. So I'm going to go to here. I'm going to find the random SDL create a renderer. I'm going to just copy paste this thing here. Okay. So this one is going to be const renderer. This one is just C. We'll probably have to provide the window, so I suppose it's going to be recognized as a pointer. So index, if I remember correctly, is the index of the driver. You just put -1 if you want any driver. And in here, so SDL render, I want to have hardware accelerated stuff. Okay, so I suppose this thing also can return like a null. And we're going to do it like that. Okay, so let me see. Unused local variable. Okay, sure. Let's put it like that temporarily. Cool. Is it gonna flash the window? Flash the window. Okay, cool. So, and of course, it would be nice to defer some things in here, like defer C SDL destroy window, right? So after we go out, we destroy the window, and on top of that, we could have, yeah, it actually allows us to have this stuff without like using underscore thingy, right? So we can just do it like that. Defer C SDL destroy renderer, right? So renderer, there we go. Okay. Okay, so embed file, that's already interesting. So I suppose what it takes the file and bakes the bytes into here, and you have an access to these bytes like from here. So then we load from const memory. Okay, so you literally load in the message from that from the memory. That's actually pretty cool. So embed file. Okay, so when it returns the, oh, it even knows, yeah, it knows the size at compile time as well. That's actually pretty cool. This function is compile time constant pointed to null. Yeah, so it's a very specific thing. Like it's a thing for a very specific task, which is very common with multimedia applications when you want to bake like literally a resource into the program. All right. So I don't really care about like loading images. I want to organize the event loop. Okay, I suppose. So here we have a variable, so which indicates that this is a mutable variable because you won't be able to change the constant, right? So it has to be specifically variable, which makes sense. And while this thing is not quittable, right? So this is not quittable. Right, so do you really have to keep it undefined? I just want to see what the compiler is going to say. So, and then we can just do that. Oh, this one is interesting. Ooh, I see. So it's needed, right, because type is probably a keyword. Right, do I understand correctly? I think this is why. Type is a keyword, and this is a way to sort of refer to a name without this thing being a keyword, because, right, the set of keywords of Zeek is not the same as the set of keywords of C. Right, and I remember it was talking about something like a at syntax. Right, if I try to do something like this, it says used identifier without at syntax. Right, so the at syntax is basically the syntax for like keywords, like escaping keywords, right? I don't know what's the official name, I'm sorry, like I didn't read documentation, but it's a way to escape sort of the names, right? And the reason why you need it in here is because underscore is probably internally on the level of a tokenizer, or maybe on the level of a parser, is a keyword. Do I understand that correctly, chat? Do I understand that correctly? I feel like I do understand that correctly, and that's why you sort of have to do it like that, but at the same time you actually literally creating a variable with this name that you would have to destroy afterwards and use it like that from now on. So that's basically what's happening in here. Right, do I understand that correctly? I think I do understand that correctly. And I kind of like this idea. I kind of like the idea of like assigning window to the variable with this name. So I think I'm gonna go on with that. I really like this idea. What do you guys think? So let me see. So symbol is not declarable. God damn. Debated. Like, I mean, come on. So really, I can't do that. And it tells me you can't do that, you have to use this syntax. I use this syntax and then it tells me, no, you still can't do that. What kind of bullshit is that? I wanna use that name. What if I wanna use that name? Right, you gave me a mechanism to use that name. I wanna use that name. Anyway. I guess we can't use that name, sure. I mean, fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine. Window. All right. So let's go ahead and do that. I want to call it underscore. Why can't I call it underscore? Literally unusable. Literally unusable. Anyway, so yeah, now we have to organize the event loop. So in here, we just do that, then we have a switch case, for else we do nothing. I wonder, does it really, like, understand all of the possible things? So it probably doesn't compile if you don't have else. Yeah, variables must be initialized. Okay. It's undefined. And then it says that a switch must have all of the possible things. I'm just checking like what it complains about, right? So I think it's kind of interesting. 1 hour into the stream. 1 hour into the stream and we created a window. Isn't that amazing? Yes, yes, it's amazing. It's absolutely, you know what's cool? You know what's cool? So we're using C library without any special bindings of wrappers written manually, right? So I really like the idea of the compiler just understanding C. I really like that. So you can say, okay, include this C file, it will actually parse this C file and it will import like the enumerations that you can use from the language. I think that's a cool idea. Right, so it's kind of similar to the C++ idea, right? So one of the reasons why C++ became so popular is because it just like can interact with C frictionlessly, without any friction, right? So you just include the C file and there you go, you just have everything from C. So it just allows very easily to reuse the things. So I really like this idea. I think it's pretty cool. I don't really like the learning experience, right? So because like the error messages don't really explain things very often, right? So they say, oh, you're doing this thing wrong, but they don't rarely explain how exactly I have to do things, right? Especially if I don't know it. So which means that I have to read documentation, but I don't want to read documentation because it's big and clunky and just like, no, you explain me how to do things, right? So my position is that if the compiler sees that I'm doing something wrong, it might as well actually explain how you're supposed to do things, right? That will reduce the amount of times I have to go and Google something and read documentation. So it's just my personal position, but it's not super critical. So anyway, what I was doing, I forgot what I was doing. All right, so and then okay, so we're cleaning everything as usual. So yeah, I guess. Let's do the following thing. SDL set render draw caller. Right, so this is what we want to do. There we go. Set render draw caller. So in here we don't really care about the result, I suppose, right? So that's why we sort of ignore it. It's kind of interesting that all of these render functions, they can fail, but usually we don't care if they fail, because if we reach this point, if we manage to initialize SDL, create a window and create a renderer, it's quite unlikely that it's going to fail, so we don't care afterwards. It's kind of interesting. So 255, 0, 0, 0. Oh, by the way, does Zig have some sort of a spread operator? Like you have an array, and can I assign a caller, right? So caller to, I don't know how to do arrays in Zig, so I'm gonna just like improvise. 255, 0, 0, 0, 255, and then can I say, okay, caller, and just spread it like that? Can I do shit like that in Zig? Does anybody know? How do you do that correctly? I'm gonna just go ahead and try to compile this code and hope that it's gonna work. So it didn't work. So expected this, but found this, so it's expected this thing. Right, so expected semicolon. Alright, so let me find the arrays. How do you work with the arrays? Okay, so there is a whole section dedicated to arrays. And you're supposed to... Okay, I see. So this is a message. So you're supposed to provide the size and the type. Okay, I can provide the size, which is 4, and the type is U8, I presume. Afterwards, I probably have to say something like 255, 00, 255, right? So that initialized this thing correctly. But can I spread? What's the spread? You can use call to pass all arguments as tuple, but not spread operator. That's actually sad. So there's one trick that I like to use in C with respect to things like set, render, draw caller. Right. Essentially, I like to define an operator called something like hex caller, right? Where I would pass a caller as the hex value, right? So I would usually use it like that, hex caller 0x ff00 ff, right? So something like that. So I have some sort of a thing in here. And with the macro itself, what I would do caller ff, right? So I would extract the first component of the caller, right? Then I would go and say, okay, let's actually shift by 8 and then extract the second component of the caller. And of course, all of that is separated by a comma, right? So the next component is going to be something like this, and the last component is going to be something like this, right? So in fact, here you just have 1 multiplied by 8, and essentially here you have a very similar thing, right? You have something like 0 multiplied by 8, so it's sort of like there is a symmetry. And then when I call this function, I like to do renderer and then say, okay, hex caller, let's say, excuse me, 0x ff 00 ff. Right, so and what it will do, it will just take this thing and sort of spread it across all of the arguments in here, making it a little bit more readable. You see what I mean? And I was thinking, how can I do something like that in Zig as well? So can I have like a single place where I can just define a single caller and then spread that caller? I could probably, I guess I can do it like that, right? So I have to do it, which is not particularly convenient, but yeah. Can do this with Zig macros, probably, I don't know. So, but I need to understand how Zig macros works. So Zig doesn't have macros, really? But yeah. So it would be kind of cool. So I would be fine with this solution, at least, where I could just define, okay, so here's the caller, and I don't have to like do the caller 0, caller 1, caller 2, caller 3. Right? Macros, you can do something close with compile time metaprogramming, but in general, this way of doing things is not really supported by language. Okay, sure. 255, 00, 255. Okay, so I'm fine with that. So the only thing I want to do right now is, I guess, just see the red screen. I guess that's what I want to see. So then the next thing is going to be clear, right? So we're going to try to clear the entire thing. Of course, this thing has to be C, clear, and then we just present. The weird thing about present is that it never returns any error. Like I always point that out, and it's kind of interesting, I think, personally. Yes, red. So, how much time? It's actually, yeah, 1 hour in, and we have a red window, which is nice. Which is pretty pogue. So let's actually not use this thing. Let's have a more subtle thingy. So I like the color 181818FF, right? So that means if I say 0x18, it's 24. So here we have to have 24. So the reason why I like this specific color, like 181818FF, is because this is the background of my theme. Right, so if you take a look at this color, this is literally like 24. Oh, though I could use things like that. I don't know why I didn't use it like that. I can just do it like that. Yeah, and then here I can just do it like that. So it's almost like I have the, you know, the color, hex color stuff. Yeah, I think I can live with that. Alright, so let's take a look, and we can even compare. You can clearly see that this is literally the same color, right? So this is the window, right? This is the window, and this is my editor. So they are the same color. I kind of like this background color specifically. I don't know why. So the cool thing is that I can quite easily add like a little bit of a red tint to it, right? If I want to. It's just like depending on which component I modify. So as you can see, it's a little bit more reddish, but I'm gonna keep it neutral. All right, so the next thing I want to do, I want to try to render a rectangle, right? Some sort of a small rectangle in there. Let me see. Oh, this one is gonna be interesting. Because what that means is that I will have to create a rectangle, right? So it has to be something like rect, right? And this has to be CSDL rect. And the question is, how do I even initialize the rectangles? Can I do stuff like x0, y0, w100, and h100? This is probably not a correct Zeek program, but I want to see how the Zeek compiler is going to react to it. What is going to tell me? So statement semicolon. Okay, so do you want to have semicolons in here? Sure. Expected, okay. What else? Use of undeclared identifier, x. But it is declared, right? If we take a look at the definition of this thing, I should probably just look up how to do that, but I just like want to figure it out without reading documentation. I do understand that this is dumb, but again, I'm a dumb person, okay? So I'm a very dumb person. I like to learn things in a very dumb way. I really apologize for that. So this is X. So another hypothesis is that maybe it is like in C where I have to put dots in here. Right. But if it is true, why the compiler didn't tell me, I'm sorry pal, I expected dot in front of the name, but you didn't provide the dot. Right, so I would expect something like that, but it didn't tell me. Invalid left-hand side to assignment. Okay, so this is probably not like that. Okay, so let's actually look up what flavor of structured literals Zeek has, because every language has its own flavor of how you define these kind of things. Okay, so let's actually find out. And like all the language like always do that differently. So structs, okay. So let's take a look at structs. Okay. So it's literally like that. Yeah, it is literally like that. So I don't understand what's wrong with that. Okay. Oh, I see. I probably have to do something like this then. I'm an idiot, right? Yes. And then you have to use commas. Okay. So we managed to figure it out almost without documentation. Unused local constant. Okay, so that's fine. And it still complains. Void does not support. Anyway, so maybe I should just try to use it. C, SDL, fill. Where is the render? Fill rect. Yeah, fill rect. Is it fill rect? Yeah, render fill rect. Render fill rect. So then we take a renderer, then we take the rect. But how do you take a reference to something? Chat. Chat, chat, chat. Do you feel wrecked? Oh, I ran out of water, I'm sorry. I suppose it is like that. At least chat tells me that it is like that. Okay, sure. Expression value is ignored. Okay, that's fine. Cool. But we can't see the rect. You know why? This is because we didn't set the color, right? So let's actually set the color to something, right? So it's gonna be FF. Yep. And this one is 0. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? Isn't it pogue? Isn't it pogue? I think it's pretty pogue. So the next step is actually to make it move. So that's very important. So since moving is a mutable state, we probably have to define a couple of mutable variables, right? So we have to have x, which is going to be 0, and we have to have y, which is also going to be 0, right? So in here, I'm going to just say, okay, x. It would be kind of cool if I could do something like in Rust. No. But unfortunately, this is not Rust, and I probably have to do it like that. Didn't work. Goddamn. Alright, so I'll probably have to do it like that. Okay, sure. Compile time variable must const or compile time. Comp time int. Comp time int. This is very interesting. What if I... Aha, I really like that. Wait. Don't say anything. Chat, don't say anything. Right. So this is a comp time, but if I change it like that, it will compile. No? Okay. Must be const or comp time. So does it complain about +1? So what I was thinking is that maybe it just like saw that I only use x in a compile time context, right? And never modify it. And it came to a conclusion that, okay, it's not modifiable, that's why it has this compile time type, right? So this kind of stuff is baked into the type system. Oh, I see. Explicit fixed number. Okay, so let me see stuff about numbers. Is there like ways to say that on a level of literal, if you know what I mean? Can I say it like this, I32, right? Or do I have to do it like this? Can I say that on a level of a literal? So let me take a look. So literals. So integer literals. If that's all information about literals, I'm going to assume that it's not possible to say that on the level of literals. I think you can do as type, but this is not on the level of literal. This is already not a literal, this is an expression. Right, so it's just like literals always have comp time type, right? So yeah, I guess I have to do it like that. Sure, that's fine. And now it totally compiles. Interestingly, it doesn't complain that I never modify x, right? Which is also fine, sure. Okay, so let's do the following thing. I'm gonna add x and y. Somebody posting some interesting copy pasta. Dude, it takes literally no effort to get rid of unused variables unless you're sleeping at your desk. I don't see how you can miss this. In any case, it ought to be optional. If you're so lazy that you miss this once you're done with the block of work, then add compiler flag that treats unused as errors. Otherwise, it should be a warning. It's an overkill. Thank you for the copypasta. I really like this copypasta. So should I add it? add like a comment for that. I think like. Okay, so let me see. So now this thing should be moving. Right. That's actually very fast. It's probably because I never sync to like FPS or anything like that. Let's actually do SDL delay. Right, so this is going to be SDL delay, and we need to do 60 FPS per second. 60 frames FPS per second, right? So that's what we need to do. So, and as far as I know, it's in milliseconds, so it's 1000 milliseconds divided by 60, right? So it should be fine. I hope it's an integer division. Look at that. It was just a response. Yeah, so it was, your response was actually so perfect. It works as a copy pasta. I really like it. It has this structure of the copy pasta somehow. I really like it. Thank you. Thank you so much for making it. All right. So very, very smooth. Frames FPS per second. Yes, that's the measure unit that we use on this channel. Frames FPS per second. So let's go ahead and maybe introduce something like speed. Momentum. Though, since I kind of want to... Okay, so can I just do F32? Right. Because I want to do all of the computations in floating point, because I have a... Even though my laptop is 10 years old, it's still relatively modern, so it has a, you know, hardware for computing IEEE 754 integers, or floats. So I should use that. Should definitely use that. So in here we may also introduce something like const speed, which I'm gonna say, okay, 100 pixels per second. And here we can do the following thing. We can do just speed. Right, and it will probably complain here because this thing is an integer, but we're trying to assign a float to it, right? So let me try to rebuild it, so please complain. Okay, so how do we cast? So people were suggesting something like as type, and will that actually cast? Is that a cast, or do I have to use a cast word? Probably not. I don't know, let's give it a try. Can I do stuff like that? Invalid built-in function as type or something. Okay, so let's search for casting. Cast. I'm sorry for my English, by the way. Int cast? Why int cast? Really? Why is that a separate thing? Converts an integer to another integer. Why there's no such just cast? Really? Float? It's a very specific. Okay. Okay. So type float any type. Sure. Float to int. I suppose maybe it will actually infer everything. Expected to arguments. Okay, so maybe I have to. I would like to see an example. Why there is no example in here? Like, I don't understand how to use it. Right, so, okay, this is a compile time, so it's more of like a generic. So you have to provide the destination type in here, which is I32. Right, come on. And okay, so it worked. My next question would be, why it does not infer this thing from the return type? Right, because I assigned this thing to this thing. The type of that field is known. Why there's no way to just infer that? Right, so I can do something like this then. So is there something like that or not? Because like compiler knows enough information to just like, you know, do that. I don't really understand why I have to provide this thing in there, but yeah. Anyway, so it's fine. Um, during the self-host. Okay, sure. So what I was thinking. I forgot. Why was it so fast? That's the question I have. Why was it so fast? That's the real problem. The reason why it was so fast is because I don't take delta time into account, right? So we need to have something like delta time in seconds into account. So the delta time in seconds, it has to be like float. We take 1 and divide it by amount of frames FPS per second. Right, so an FPS in our case we know is equal to 60. Right, so since we now have a centralized place where we put FPS, we can actually use it in here as well. Right, so just a single place where we have all of that. So yeah, there we go. So it's a very dumb way to keep track of the delta time. Delta time is actually variable. I do realize that. It's just like I don't want to spend time on doing that. I should probably do that. I don't know. It's not that difficult. Okay. So compile time cannot be cursed to compile time int. And can I now say, what if I want to do float to actually int to float? Right. So I know for sure that this is that, but then I can say f32. Right, can I do stuff like that? Right. Okay, so it's a little bit smoother. So it's 100 pixels per second. And I can easily control that like so. Right. So that's what we have. So there is a little bit of a tearing, but I'm not sure if you can see that. So that's totally fine. Okay, so I'm gonna start from 100 in here. Okay. So on top of that, I'd like to introduce dx. Sorry. So it's going to be 1 and dy. Right. And in here, instead of like just speed, we're going to be actually be doing dx, and this is dy. Right. So and then that is fine. Interestingly, so I can try if x plus this thing is less than 0, right? Or I think I'm gonna do the following: nx, right? So this is a new x, right? This is a new x. If nx is less than 0, or n x is plus, we don't have the size of the rect. Rect size is greater than window size, window width. We'll have to do something like dx multiplied by minus, and we'll have to reassign it yet again. Interestingly, so I need to introduce rect size. Let me quickly do that. Rect size is going to be equal to 100. So this is a rect size. We use the rect size in here, and we're also going to be using it in here. Rect size, there we go. So this is a rect size. So this is the next value for x, and if it goes anywhere like outside of boundaries, we have to sort of recompute it, and we have to reassign it again. Right, we have to reassign it again. So the question is, okay, is there any cool stuff in Zig that would help me to do that? Probably not. So unless I have to do it like var. Unless I have to do it like war. Alright, so maybe it's fine. Maybe it's fine. So the next thing is gonna be just like this. It just feels like maybe I have to use the point type, right? So x replaced with y. There we go. So we're gonna have y, and instead of width, we have to use height. There we go. So after that, I can say x is equal to nx and y is equal to ny after we like figured everything out. All right. So cannot be operator comparison cannot be chained. Oh no. Oh no. No? Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. Oh no, 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 no. Okay, so expected error set type found boolean. Not sure. Oh, you have to use OR. Ah, that's why it really? You have to use OR? What is this? Python? Disgusting. Just a second. So you probably don't have to do that, right? So, and the reason why it was because it's needed for chaining. I see. I have no idea what is chaining, right? But it was complaining. Okay, okay. So I thought that Zeek had a really weird, you know, precedence of the operators, which forces you to put parentheses like in these kind of conditions, like in Pascal, which is like. Oh no, no, no moment. But apparently you have to use OR because bar is taken for some sort of a chaining and I don't really know what chaining is. Is it like in functional languages? Is that a Mr. System functional language kind of thing? Okay, so chain. Alright, tool chain. And chain is only encountered like one time in here. So Zig chain. Maybe I have to do something like Zig lang. Alright. Zig fails to chain. Okay. I can see chainable comparison operator. Oh yeah. I'm not the first. I'm not alone. I'm not the only person who actually got fallen into this kind of stuff, right? So, right. Right. Anyway, so I think I'm spending too much time on this kind of stuff. So what I wanted to do is just like check. Boom, 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 boom. So yeah, this is what we have in here. So, and we are in the middle of implementing breakout. So that's already half of the game. We already implemented half of a game. So isn't that epic? I think that's pretty epic. So one of the things we can do, the ball, right, the thing that moves around is supposed to be, I think, smaller. So maybe, how about 50? Let's make it 50. Okay. And I think it has to be a bit faster. So it's actually called rect speed. 500. So now we can start grouping these things together. Rect speed. And where is the second one? Another rect speed. And another rect speed. Another rect speed. The fuck is this shit? Wait, hey Tsoning, Andrew Kelly here. Glad that you got my donation. Instead of following what other languages do, I decided to pick the worst features of other programming languages and build Zilk around them. That's what makes it unique. Thanks for the stream, you're doing great. Alright, thank you for 300 bucks. I mean, I really appreciate it. So I mean, the language is actually great. So I really like the idea of it being compatible with C, right? So I may be actually like doing stupid stuff and raging about like documentation and stuff like that. But the fact that I could just like include C file and just start using it is fucking cool. And I can give it that. And I didn't, like, nobody had to even write any wrappers, right? So the automatic wrapper generation is built into the language to some extent, right? So I think it's a pretty cool language. So don't get me wrong. I complain about languages all the time. As I say, I hate all of the languages equally. So it's fine language. It's totally fine. So as you can see, I can program in it, right? So I already made a thingy that just, you know, does stuff. So it's usable. It's a pretty cool language. Do you hate Rust? Of course I hate Rust. Rust is the worst language I've ever seen in my entire life. Isn't Andrew exactly graceful? That was somebody else. Right, it's a joke. It's actually a joke. So, okay. What I was doing, I don't remember. I need to start introducing a bar, the thing that you control. You know what I mean? Let's actually extract all of these things into like constants somewhere here, right? So what I like to do when I program games like that is that I have like the whole section of constants, right? So these are the constants, and I can just like control the look and feel of the entire thing like from here, which is rather convenient. Okay. So this is the state of the program. It would be nice to maybe have some sort of a structure for the position. And I wonder if we can overload the operators, right? So operator, default operator, overloading. There is no operator overloading. Okay, I can live with that. So, now, let's introduce the bar. I suppose one of the things we're gonna have, so this thing should be called maybe ball. Even though it's square, we're gonna still call it ball. Or maybe, is there like any established terminology for the breakout? What is the projectile is, like, what's projectile is usually called? What's the name of the projectile in the breakout? Maybe I just have to call projectile. Let's just call it projectile, but it's too long. Let's call it proj. Ball, but it's not round. You can't call it ball, it's not round. So, no, it's not ball. If I call it ball, I'm obligated to render it as a circle. It's too much work. I can't render it as a circle. I don't want to render it as a circle. It's too much work. Bugaso, thank you so much for the subscription. Thank you. Bouncer. So if I want to render it as a circle, I will have to probably generate a texture with a circle, right? And every time I want to render a circle, I'll have to like copy the. It's too much work. No, I'm gonna call it proj. So this is a projectile. So I'm not gonna go anywhere fancier than just rectangles, right? Right, so it's gonna be proj. There we go. Paddle, maybe. SDL can't do circles? Not really. I mean, you can render a circle yourself, pixel by pixel, into a texture, and then quickly bleed the texture into the renderer. You can do that, but then every time you want to render a circle of a different size, you will have to regenerate the texture. Otherwise, you're not going to have like proper resolution. So yeah, it is what it is. Paddle is what does paddle means? Like, I don't speak English, so I don't really know what that word means. I'm sorry. So I'm gonna go into Macmillan Dictionary and just Google up paddle. Do I accept cookies? A short pole. Why do you? Okay. A short pole that you push into the water in order to move a small boat. Oh, okay. Like in pinball. You speak English? That means that I understand Russian. This is not Russian either. Definition 3. The bat used to play, but it's not the bat. I'm talking about, okay. So it's approach. So it's going to be called approach from now on. Okay, const bar, and we're going to have a bar, maybe length, right? So we're going to have a specific length for the bar. We're going to have like 100. Then another thing that we need for the bar is the bar thickness, right? So how thick the bar is, right? So let's say this is going to be like 10 pixels thick. And I suppose we can also have something like bar y, which is at what level it is, right? So, and it should be probably relative to the window height, right? And let's actually subtract, definitely subtract bar thickness, right? So bar thickness plus some sort of like a padding, let's say maybe like 100, I don't know, right? So something like this. So we're gonna have these three parameters, and based on these three parameters, we'll have to come up with a rendering code, right? So we need to write a rendering code that uses these three parameters and renders the bar. But we also need to have the state of the bar, like the coordinates, where the bar is located, right? So we also need to have that. So here we keep track only of the approach. So this is approach x and approach velocity and stuff like that. Interesting enough, like we have these coordinates, which we probably want to extract into some sort of a structure. So let's actually look up how you define structures. I already kind of know how to do that. So you probably do something like point, and then you do struct, where you say that you have x f32 and y f32. I think that's what you do, right? So am I correct? So, so is that what I have to do? And I have to put... Okay, did I do that correct? I think I did that correctly. My god. Oh, isn't that amazing? I think it's goddamn amazing. Holy shit. Anyways, so here's the point, and what I want to do is to do the following thing. Approach position. So we're going to have approach position, which is a point, x equal to 100, y equal to 100. And then we're also going to have approach... not really velocity, but maybe velocity. Let's actually call it velocity. So it's going to be something like x equal 1, y equal 1, and there we go. So we have approach position and approach velocity, which is nice. So it's not going to compile because expected... Fuck, I forgot how you do that. Yeah, you're supposed to use dots like in C, and then dots like that, like so. Alright, and there we go. This one is very interesting. So that means we have to do something like next approach, maybe even approach next position, where we... how can we approach that? How can we approach that? Because this kind of stuff is easier to do on the level of the coordinates, but when we go to here, it's kind of like a pain in the ass. Maybe I shouldn't go to the, like... Maybe I should not introduce the structure. Right. So the only reason why I wanted to introduce the structure is because I didn't want to do that. But maybe that's fine, if you think about it. Maybe that's fine. So maybe there's nothing wrong with that. Right, so then we can do something like bar x. Yeah, I think it's even better because the bar y is a constant value. Right, so, and bar x is the variable value, so that makes sense. I have a small Zeek question. Do I look like a Zeek professional? So why do you ask me Zeek questions? You can import a header to a variable. Can you? I guess you can, sure. Can you just use C-import without assigning to a variable? I have no idea. I know nothing about Zeek, I'm sorry. Anyway, so let's continue. This one is proch. This one's probably proch. And that means I have to query replace nx with proch nx. Boom. Then query replace dx proch dx. And this one is approach x. Query replace ny proj and y, right? So query replace dy, proj dy, boom, and then y, proj y, proj y. All right, so proj dx, proj x, and okay, bar, never used variable, sure. Okay, so that's fine. Let's try to render that stuff. So this is the ball, and maybe one of the things I want to do is to rename rect into the proj rect, because then I'll have to have something like bar rect, SDL rect, like so. So how are we gonna actually implement the position of stuff, right? So we have bar x, right? We have bar x. What does it mean? We can say that maybe it's the left coordinate, right? It's the left coordinate. What we have to do, we have to pick a point at that specific x, right? And then add half of a thickness here, and then add half of a thickness here, and then apply the length, right? So the position of the bar, is essentially the position of this point. So if you look at this as a bar with a certain thickness, this is the position, right? So let's actually look at it this way, right? I think that's fine for now. You can actually approach that differently, but we just need to pick a way to represent this kind of stuff. So bar x, right? So this is gonna be the position. So this is just x, and it's gonna be staying like that for like that. Float to int I32. So in terms of y, it is going to be I suppose bar y, but also minus half of the thickness of the bar thickness, half of it, right? Then in terms of width and height, so width is going to be bar length and height is going to be bar thickness. There we go. So we have a rect, and after that we probably want to render that specific bar, but so this is a ball, right, which probably have to be like white, right? It has to be white. But for the bar, we have to have a different color. So the colors right now are going to be very ugly, but these are placeholders, right? So later we're going to just do something about them. Okay, so bar x, undeclared identifier, because I actually, did it like that. Did it work? Did it work? Okay, so we have a bar in here, but we can't really control it. So that's kind of the problem. So all of these things, by the way, I forgot that I probably want to make them F32, right? Because that's very important. So let's take a look at what it's going to complain about. All right, so it didn't really complain much, which is fine, sure. So any person of culture would have sent for 2069, but you have to send it for something. Like, why would you send it? Not working in Jaya this time. I mean, I got literally paid $300 to use this language for today's stream. So, I mean, John didn't pay me anything. I'm testing Jaya for free. So, to be fair, I would personally pay to test Jai, but I got to test it for free. So let me see. It's a fine language, I guess. It has a potential. So it's okay. Let me see. Now we need to start handling the keys, right? C SDL key down. I suppose that's what we want to have in here, right? So I wonder if it's going to work. What is the advantage of Zig? That's not a correct question to ask about the programming language. Okay, so what else we're gonna have? Event. How does it handle unions, though? That's a very good question. So I suppose key, sim, and can I print? How do you print things? I just realized that I still don't really understand how you print things in Zig. So I suppose, yeah, let's give it a try. Oh, I can probably do SDLlog only accepts the like printfs and whatnot. Right. But why exactly do I want to print it? I want to just like check if it's working correctly. SDLlog. STD debug print. I don't know. This is the hello world. Hello world says that you have to create std out, which is stdio get stdio writer, right? You have to put it into a variable, and when you call it, you have to always try. So this is in the official documentation, and this is what I assume hello world should be written in, and how you interact with the standard input output, right? So because that's the official documentation, that's the first thing you see, so I assume that's the way you do that in language. If it's simpler, put a simple version in the hello world, right? So if there is a simple way, put it here. Why do you show me like a very verbose way? Like, why? If there is a simpler way, why do we have that? So I'm just going off of the first thing that I see, right? So this is the first impression of the language. I just show you how the first impression of that language looks like. I don't know. So I look at that and I think to myself, you know what? It's just easier to do SDLlog, right? Because in SDLlog I have a familiar like printf syntax. I just don't know what to expect from this thing. So I'm gonna just use SDLlog. I'm sorry. So because it's more familiar for me. Okay. So it has to be C. Is it have to be C? Though, why do I call it C though? Why don't I call it SDL? Okay, maybe it's fine. I don't want to rename anything. Okay, okay, so it does handle things, but at the same time, that's a very huge values. I'm really sure. Let me take a look at the example. Does example handle anything else except the quit? Okay. Maybe it's not D. Maybe it's not D. Because usually, what you would do, right? In C, you can just check it against the character, and it would just work. Right, so, and I wonder if it's gonna work in Zig. Well, of course, I'm sorry. I've been working with the languages that don't require the parentheses for quite some time, so... Okay, so it will work. I'm really glad. So I'm really glad that it will work. So that means I should be able to do something like switch. Right. The KGB is after me already. Can I have something like A? Right, so this is going to be A, where I just do bar x plus 10. So this is not a particularly good way to handle this entire stuff. So A is going to be minus, like that. So, and else, in case of else, we do nothing. Alright, and I probably can do something like this. Can I do something like this? That would be actually kind of cool. That would be kind of cool. So semicolon, yeah, sure. Okay, so when I do... Okay, so as you can see, I can move around. But this is not a particularly good way to like handle it. It would be better if when I hold down, it would just move smoothly, and when I like release it, it just stops, right? So that would be way better in my opinion. So because of that, we need to also look for key down and key up. But there is a better way to do this kind of stuff in SDL, actually. So let me show you. So I think it's in SDL input, maybe SDL keyboard. Get keyboard, I think. Yeah, there we go. So you can get the keyboard state, and what you actually get is the array of the states of the keys. So then you can just check a specific scan code, right? On each frame, you can just check the state of the key, and if it's pressed, you can make the bar move in a certain direction, right? So furthermore, we can do it this way, right? So we have projection dx, and we have only bar x, but we can introduce bar dx, f32 0, and let's actually align everything by f32. There we go. So now every frame, right, every frame, what we're doing, we are do bar x plus yeah, actually do something like this, bar x plus bar, maybe we need to have something like bar speed, right, because we do have projectile speed, so we need to have bar speed multiplied by delta times sec, and there you go. So that's what we have in here. And in here, if keyboard c SDL scan, I don't know, A, right? So if it's scan A, so if it's left, we need to change the bar dx to -1. Otherwise, if it's something else, interestingly, so if I press both of them simultaneously, I think they should cancel out, right? So that means we need to do something like bar dx equals 0. Then if this thing is pressed, I have to add -1. And then if other thing is pressed, so D, I have to add +1. So that way, if you press both of them, they cancel out. You see what I mean? Is that a cool idea? I think it's a pretty cool idea. What line is it? This is Jai. Sorry. So keyboard, we don't have a keyboard, we have to create it first. And since it's a pointer, I think I should be able to do that. Keyboard C SDL get keyboard state. Is that how we do that? Keyboard. So I probably have to put null in here. Right. Bar speed. We don't have a bar speed. Should the bar speed be equal to the proc speed? What do you guys think? I think it should be equal to the proc speed. Yeah. Yeah, boy. Okay. Has no member scan A. Is it really scan? Can I do just scan left? Scan right? I don't want to go into the C code and check what it's... I don't want to go there. Scan code. Okay. Scan code. Boom. God damn it. Expected boolean but found... Okay. So... not equals 0. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. And it goes somewhere. What the fuck? Okay. Bar dx. Okay, so that's what we have. Look at that. Look at that. So I can move shit around. And it's actually super smooth. It is actually super mother flipping smooth. So I don't like the size of the projectile. I think it has to be way smaller, like half small. Maybe they should be the same width, right? So if this is a projectile size, it should be also the thickness of the bar, right? So also this f32. But this one should be an integer. Can I say it's an integer? Because I'm not sure which integer is it going to be. Right, so I'm gonna just make it compile time. There's no int! Can I say it's a comp time int? Can I use them directly? This probably was a bad idea. Oh, finally it complains about this kind of stuff. So in here, I should probably start doing float to int. I32, float to int, I32, float to int, I32. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom. It's actually too thick, isn't it? It's actually too thick. You know what I want to be able to do? I want to be able to pause the entire stuff. Can we have something like pause? Right, so false. And yeah. So here we update the entire state. Right, so this is where we update state. And if not paused, we just do the entire thing in here. Like so. Though, where do we render things? So this is rendering, right? So this is definitely rendering. And then here we update the state. So we can move the rendering somewhere here. Okay. So, nice. And now, if I press something like space, I want to do pause equal not pause. I want to get rid of this kind of stuff. Switch case is actually pretty cool. I really like switch cases. Okay, so now I can pause the entire stuff. So as you can see, it's paused. Then I can continue. Okay, that's cool. So maybe it would be nice to have separate things like update the state, render the state, and so on and so forth. But here's an interesting thing. The whole state of the program is this, right? So do I want to introduce structure just for that, or do I want to make this thing global? That's a good question. But whatever. So I'm already doing that for 2 hours. So I think I'm gonna actually make a small break because I need to refill some water. And after that, we're gonna continue making this thing, right? So it actually looks doable, right? Because the easiest thing to do right now is to do the unthinkable, right? And probably piss off a lot of people. I know that it will probably piss off a lot of people, but that's what I want to do in here. So basically updates. So here we have delta time, which is going to be f32, and then we're going to have render. And here we'll probably have to accept the renderer, right? So SDL renderer, which is a pointer. I'm going to assume that this is the pointer, right? And there we go. And let me just try to do some of this stuff. So this is what we do in update. I can just like take this entire stuff and say update, right? So we're updating. Delta time is going to be delta time in seconds, right? But maybe in the future it's going to be is going to change. It's going to be changed. So we replace delta time in seconds, replace it with dt, and there you go. So then, when we're doing the rendering, right, so when we're doing the rendering, we're going to be doing that thing. So then, render, right, so as you can see here, we have a pretty, you know, well-defined step. Update the entire state of the program and then render the entire state. Since the program is so simple, it doesn't really make sense to create like a sophisticated data structures to keep track of the state of the game, right? So just like here's the entire state of the game. Here's the constant parameters that define the look and feel of the game. You can tweak them, and here is the initial state. So, and this is like very clear, very like really well defined. So there's no like, you know, confusion or anything like that. Would be kind of cool to maybe also have a separate like stage for handling input, but I think I'm gonna keep it in here. I don't think input is that complicated in here. Love2D does pretty much similar thing. Like a lot of games, they have well-defined stages, right? So handling the input, updating the state, and rendering. So, and quite often you might be updating the state of the game in a different FPS rather than rendering, right? So because you don't want to update the game in a variable FPS, right? So you want to have a fixed FPS for your physics, for your animations, and then you can have like a variable FPS for rendering and stuff like that. You see what I mean, right? So because you want your animations and physics to be more or less stable. But I'm not a game developer, I don't really know the details, but that's what I heard people do quite often. I don't know. Okay, so how do I define things? So do I have to say that it returns void if I'm not going to return anything? I think this is what I have to say. Okay, so this is void. Cool. So what do we have in here? Expected one, yeah, we have to provide the renderer. So let's provide the renderer. Okay, so that's cool. Okay, so another interesting thing that we'll have to do, right, is handle collision with the bar, right? So that's quite important. So right now we have bar and projectile separately. They do not interact with each other anyhow. How can we make them interact? So that's a very good question. So first of all, we need to identify whether the projectile is currently within the range of the bar, right? So is it within the range of the bar? That's a very interesting question. So the range of the bar is bar x, right? So it means less or equal, projectile x, or I wonder if we can do something like this, bar x plus bar length. Is that a thing you can do? Is that a thing in Zig? Oh, is that a thing in Zig? I think it might be, yes, actually. I just realized that I wanted to make a break, but I want to finish that. Okay. So, and then we need to determine whether this thing is below that stuff. All right, so I think I still want to make a break because my brain is actually slowing down. So yeah, let's make a small break. And I was thinking how to easily implement all of that, and I think the easiest approach would be to just check when the rectangle of the projectile and rectangle of the bar intersect, and when they intersect, we just basically bounce it off vertically, right? So when so we treat it as if the projectile hit the seal or the floor, right? You know what I mean? We can try to do something like that, but we also need to be able to check how rectangles intersect. I think SDL had something for rectangle intersections, I think. So if I take a look at the rect, intersect, okay, so it has intersection. So you can check if the two rectangles intersect, it will return true or something like that. Okay, that's fine. We need to have function that allows us to that basically computes the rectangle for the bar and for the projectile. So let's do something like this. So this is going to be proc and rect. So this thing is going to simply return the SDL rectangle by value. I hope I can just return it by value. That would be actually kind of nice. So, and we can reuse the same functions during the rendering. So that's what makes them cool, right? So we can reuse them during the rendering. I can just do it like that. So, and then simply return the proc rectangle, right? So, and then we also want to have something like bar rectangle, SDL rect. There we go. and I want to take this bar rectangle and just return it from here. Return bar rect. So, but it's kind of interesting. So here I have to save those rectangles to a special variable. I wonder if I can give a pointer to a temporary object. Is that a thing I can do in Zig? I cannot do that in C. I can kind of do that in C++, I think. I'm not sure. Right, I can definitely do that in Rust. But can I do that in Zig? Because it's a very useful feature, right? So I want to create it temporarily and then give it a pointer, and then I want to destroy it after it goes out of the scope. So let's actually find out. That will be really, really useful. Use of undeclared SD. Okay, so it has to be C. Sure, that's fine. Local shadows declaration of proj rect. Okay, so in this case we have to just call it rect, and because of that here we also have to call it rect. Right, so this has to be a rect, so there's no F in here, and of course it's the same mistake. Anything else? Is it gonna work? Is it gonna work? Fuck yeah, it works. Isn't that cool? I think I can. Does it work in C? I don't remember if it works in C, but yeah, I think I'm starting to forget C because I don't remember if it works in C. Right. So anyway, now we have this kind of stuff. So now we should be able quite easily check that we intersect the projectile, right? So here I can do the following thing. So C SDL has intersection, right? So has intersection. And then I'm gonna take the proj rect. Right, so this is a proj rect, I give it the pointer, and then bar rect, I give it the pointer as well. If they intersect, right, if they intersect, what do I have to do? I have to do the following thing. Again. Yeah. So basically reassign, yeah, so I have to do it like that. I think it will make sense. So let's give it a try. So it returns a boolean, so that means I have to compare it. So it shouldn't be equal to 0. Let's put it this way. It's gonna be, shouldn't be equal to 0. Okay, so it works as usual. It actually penetrated it. Yeah. Yeah. But it doesn't really work properly when it comes to, you know, going from this side. Yeah, so there's some sort of a problem in here. It's actually kind of cool that it can go from the side as well. So when it hits it from the side, right? So when it hits it from the side, I suppose it has to go in the opposite direction, right? So we may try to do the following thing. If it still intersects, we can reflect it from X as well. You know what I mean? We can try to reflect it from X as well. So is that a good idea, generally? That's a very bad idea. Okay. Muffs. Muffs, I guess. So, I need to think, what's gonna be the best way to do all that? The best way to do all of that would be if it hits from the side. But what does it mean that it hits from the side? So that's the real question. What the hell is hitting from the side? Because I think I remember I had the same problem with pin pog. didn't I? I think I did. It will be kind of cool if I could treat the bar as just a line without the thickness, and then I could check, okay, the projectile within the range of x, right? So it's from within the range of x, and if it is within the range of x and it goes below the bar, right below the line of the bar, only then reflect it vertically, but then creates a lot of problems. What if it's like behind there? Heating from the side means that the previous x was not in the range of the bar x range. Previous x was not in the range, but you're treating everything as points, but we have rectangles. So yeah, as you can see, I'm already streaming for more than 2 hours, and it just like really gets to me. So after that, if it still hits that, we need to take the previous proj y, right? But the question is, what is previous proj y? Nah, no really. So maybe I need to draw. It's kind of a strange problem. I don't think I ever had it. Okay. Backseaters. It's really dangerous for me to show that I'm getting tired because backseaters start to kick in. Okay. So what does it mean to have something like this? Right, so because we can have intersection like this. Right. So we can have the stuff like this, right? So we have sort of a direction for bar moving in a certain way, right? And then we also have this kind of thing, right? We can see the following stuff, right? So at some point when we do the usual calculation, we see that we hit this stuff, right? We see that on the next frame we're gonna intersect, right? If we, after computing everything, we're gonna intersect, right? What we can do right, we can go back, right, we can go back, then maybe recompute the vectors, right? So maybe we can even take the vectors of this thing and recompute accordingly. Man, like I can't stream for more than 2 hours. I just can't stream. My brain just switches off, and if I cannot finish the feature within 2 hours, it's just that's it. It's pointless for me to even continue. So I guess I'm gonna just leave it as it is, like right here. But I don't want to do another Zig stream. So yeah, I guess that's it. So this is going to be the breakout because I didn't manage to finish it before 2 hours, right? So if the language was easier to learn, right? If the error messages were more clear, if the documentation would actually like throw you right into the important information, if it didn't contain verbose examples, I would probably finish it faster and I would come up with a better game. So I'm gonna blame language for that. There we go. So I'm gonna release all of that under the MIT license, so feel free to do whatever you want. Right, so this is gonna be readme. So what the fuck am I doing? Okay, Zig out. Quick start. And how do you run this thing? Right, so this is gonna be Zig build run. There you go. So that's how you run this entire thing. So we also want to git ignore. So what exactly do we want to git ignore? This is going to be zig cache, zig out, right? And let's do git init. There we go. Ready, set, go. And then I'm going to create this entire stuff. So doing. So I can probably come up with the proper solution for that. It's just like, again, my brain doesn't work anymore and I'm super tired right now, so I'm just gonna so an attempt to implement breakout in Zig. So this one is gonna be public. There we go. So origin, Zig out. I'm gonna push that right into the repo. So feel free to do whatever you want with this source code. Don't send me any pull requests, and yeah, I'm gonna also put that in the description. Right. So the source code. There we go. So. Wasn't it cool? I think we should also add some sort of like a screenshot, right? So I think screenshot is kind of important. So let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, so boom. And then what the hell is that? Okay, so I'm gonna just move this thing in here. I'm gonna call it thumbnail. I'm gonna add this thumbnail to here because it's all about clickbait on the internet. There's the thumbnail, PNG, and we're gonna just do it like that. Add thumbnail. Yeah, just add thumbnail, and let's push that. So is it going to do the thing? All right. Hey, where is it? Okay, there it is. Okay, cool. So, does anyone have any questions? Favorite thing from Zig? My favorite thing is that I don't have to program it anymore. That's what I like about it. Alright, so I hope you liked the stream. So this was my first impression of Zig. It's a programming language, I can tell you for sure. It is Turing complete. So that means you can do whatever you can do in any Turing complete language, which is cool, which is useful, right? So if the language wasn't Turing complete, it wouldn't be useful. So that's pretty cool. It integrates with C libraries quite well, so you can just take some C libraries and create a window using C code. And yeah, it's cool. Really liked it. Thank you. Thank you so much for donating $300. I send all of this money to the good cause, and I also recommend you to do the same. So yeah, maybe I should do that more often. Maybe I should just like assign some sort of like a price on particular topics and let people pay for them, right? So sounds like a good idea, especially if all of the money will go to the good cause, right? So someone paid something. Yeah, somebody actually sent $300 on my Bitcoin wallet, and there was an agreement. If somebody does that, I'll do a Zig stream. Right, so, and the reason why there was a price for that is because people were too annoying and were constantly asking me to do the Zig streams, so I did a reverse psychology and I said that no, I'm not gonna do that, unless somebody pays me. Right. Alright. Let people bid on topics sounds like too much work for me, so... I'm not gonna set up any bidding or anything like that. So just like, all right. So I hope today's stream was interesting. Right, it was interesting for me. I just realized that I don't know how to implement breakout, or maybe my brain just doesn't work properly. Right, so it's just after 2 hours, I can't figure out how to collide two rectangles. Anyway. So, thanks everyone for watching. It was fun, and I see you next time. Love you all. Mwah. I guess we're live again. Hello everyone and welcome back. So this is the second part of the Zig Out development. So I couldn't sleep because my brain forces me to finish this game, right? I just can't leave it as it is. I need to finish it, so that's the real problem in here. So on YouTube it's gonna appear as a single video because when I upload it to YouTube I'm gonna concatenate both of the parts. So welcome back everyone. So I hope everyone had a good break. So, and let's make the second announcement, I suppose, right, for people who were preparing for today's stream. So let's do the following thing: live on Twitch. And today's topic, it's not like I like Zig or anything, I just want to finish the game, right? So it's true actually. So I just want to finish the game, chat. Trust me, I just want to finish the game. I didn't like this language, right? So I just want to finish the game. I didn't like this language. Anyway, so hello. Let's take a look at the current state, right? So let me see. Zig out. Is it Zig out? Zig out. Here it is, and I'm gonna try to do the following thing. So was it? I already forgot what it was. Right, third party, Zig, then build, run, and there we go. So this is what we have, right? So the basic physics works. But unfortunately, when you hit it from the side, right, so when you try to, I probably need to demonstrate how it's going to work, like, it doesn't really work properly, right, it doesn't really work properly. Yeah. So it actually, when you hit it from the side, it might get stuck in the bar itself. So, and since I was really tired, like I couldn't figure out how to properly do that. But after the break, I think I finally know how to fill in this piece of puzzle for this game, and it's actually really simple. It's actually really simple. So let's actually take a look at how we can do that. So the secret lies in the fact that we need to replicate the way we check for the collision with the borders, right? So the way we check for the collision with the borders is that we try to step in a particular direction for a particular coordinate, and if we hit the border, we change the vector, right? So we change the vector. So essentially, we kind of have to do a similar thing. So if we hit things horizontally, or after moving horizontally, we intersect with bar, right? We intersect with bar, only then we change the direction, right? So what we have to do in here is that we have to check, right? We have to check that after the movement horizontally, we start to intersect with the bar, right? And if after moving horizontally, we start intersecting with the bar, that means we have to change things according to, you know, horizontal movement, right? So we have to reflect the dx and stuff like that. But the problem here is that the project constructing the rectangle based on proj x and proj y, and we're sort of we're actually having a separate variable for a new position of x, right? So, and that new position of x is not taken into account when constructing project. So what I want to do is actually refactor this stuff a little bit, right? I'm going to just refactor it a little bit, and I want to make this function to accept x and y. So essentially, when you want to construct the projectile rectangle, you provide the position of that rectangle, right? So x and y, right? And then you basically make it customizable, right? So you essentially make it customizable. Late night stream, does it look like a late night? It's actually morning for me, so I haven't slept the entire night. Is that light behind you the almighty sun? Yes, it is, actually. It is the sun. Praise the sun. Definitely not the nuclear explosion or anything. Okay, so let's actually go to the compilation errors. Okay, so here we have to provide this thing. So I'm gonna actually remove it from here, right? So from the collision detection, and I'm only gonna add it for the rendering. So it's gonna be proj x and proj y. There we go. Cerimon, what's up? How are you going? How are you doing? Hello, hello. Okay, so everything seems to be working. So we don't have any collision anymore, right? So no collision whatsoever. And now we are going to do the following thing, or see SDL has god damn it, so I don't have auto completion. All right, so I'll have to go to the SDL, and I probably have to go in here, right? Has intersection, right? So the first intersection has to be projection rectangle, right? And we have to provide the coordinates. So the new x coordinate is located in here, right? So this is the new x coordinate, but the y coordinate is gonna stay old, right? So this is the old coordinate, and we check whether we are intersecting with the bar rectangle. So we don't really need to customize the bar rectangle, so I'm gonna leave it as it is. So what's interesting is that after we went through this condition, we can sort of like confirm that the x is the one that we want to have. So maybe I'm gonna actually put this thing in here. And now for the y, we're going to do a similar thing, right? So, but the only difference in here is that we're going to use the old x, but the new y, right? There we go. So this is how we're going to be doing this stuff from now on, right? So essentially we're trying to move in a particular direction, like horizontally. And if we hit anything, we change the horizontal direction, right? Then we try to move vertically, and if we hit anything vertically, we change the vertical direction as well. So this is basically how it's going to go. So how do you turn on autocomplete for Emacs Man? So don't really turn it on. So what I use a thing called IDO. So just Google up Emacs IDO, and as far as I know, in the latest versions of Emacs, it's a built-in thing, right? It's a mechanism that basically enables this kind of auto-completion. As far as I know, I don't know, there is a little bit of magic involved into getting all of that working like pretty much for everything. I think you have to use something like additionally to IDO, you have to use something like either ubiquitous, I don't know how you spell ubiquitous, but something like that. So what I could recommend you is to check out my .files, right? Maybe .files, yeah, the .files, and basically search like grep for IDO in the config, and just like see how I do that. And of course I'm gonna put that in the description for anyone who's watching on YouTube. My dot files, right? So okay, so this should work, right? So this entire thing should work, and let me see. So this is because has intersection returns not a boolean but a number, so you have to check if it's not equal to 0, right? And in here you also have to check if it's not equal to 0, so let's go ahead and do that. All right, so now we should have yeah, so as you can see now we have a proper collision, like horizontal collision and vertical collision, however you want, so which is actually precisely what I wanted to have initially. Right, so, and one of the things I want to have, I want to be able to do this kind of stuff, right? So as you can see, we have like a basic collision detection, which is rather simple, and it can be reused also for the target, right? So in the breakout, you have some sort of shapes in here that you're supposed to break out, or whatever that verb's used for, and a similar mechanism of collision detection and redirection of the velocity can be used for those shapes as well. Right, so it was quite important for me to get that piece of puzzle working. So, okay, so let's go ahead and commit that. Fix horizontal collision with the bar, right? So there you go, we have a horizontal collision with the bar. So, and you can easily check, you can easily play this game if you have a Zig compiler, right? What you have to do is just like Zig build run, and also if you have like a SDL library, you should be able to play that thing, right? Okay, so you can actually you can do a very strange thing, right? So you can sort of block it like that. So did you see that? Did you see that I actually make it like sort of stuck in there, which is rather interesting. Oh, and another thing that I need to fix is that bar can actually overflow. It can go over the borders, so I probably have to fix that as well. So let me see how I can do that. So essentially, here I update the bar x, right, according to the speed and stuff like that. And if bar x is less than 0, I think I'm gonna just set it to 0. It will be actually kind of nice to do something like bar x is equal to clamp. Let's put it this way: bar x plus clamp between 0 and window width minus bar length. Right. It would be nice to have something like that, but I'm not sure if it's gonna work properly. Right, so we don't have a clamp. Zig lang clamp. Do we have anything like that? So math clamp doesn't work. So you're supposed to have something like math. Right, so do I have to also import math just to have... Okay. It's funny how the first result on such a question is issue, right? Rather than documentation or anything like that, but it's just like a problem with the Google, I suppose. Okay, so I suppose I have to import the math. So that means I have to do something like const math import, let me see, math. There we go. Is it gonna work? Is it gonna work now? No, it doesn't work. So unable to find math. Very strange. So here is math. Ooh, do I have to say Zig? That is very strange. Is it STD math? Why do I have to spend time on such a basic thing? Okay, so maybe... Is it STD math? Okay, apparently it is. Sure. And I suppose one of the things I can do is STD math as well in here. Okay. Okay, cool. So it doesn't go to the left and it doesn't go to the right. Gia, what's up? What's up? What's up? Yeah, it's a sunlight. Yeah. So I just couldn't sleep, unfortunately. So everything seems to be working. Cool. Now let me just commit everything. Clamp the bar to the window. There we go. I'm gonna push that right into the repo. How about that? By the way, Luis Reboxio, I probably need to make it trusted, right? So, Dank indeed. You're on the train. A lagging train, just like in the song. Hello, Terrible Goss. Hello from Shanghai. Hello. Welcome. Hello. So, next thing we need to do, right? So we need to start introducing the shapes that you need to break out, right? So let's try to put one somewhere, but maybe we need to introduce like a structure, right? Let's go ahead and introduce a structure. So how do you call the bars that you break out? Targets? I think we can call them targets, right? So it's gonna be a target. But are we gonna customize the target sizes? Right, we may actually try to do that. Train isn't lagging by internet is, yeah. Internet do be like that sometimes. Is Novosibirsk far from the war zone? Yes, it is. It's very far from war zone. It's like a couple of 1,000 kilometers. So it's an Asian part of Russia. You can actually check it out on the Google map, right? So if you go to Google Maps and put Novosibirsk, you'll see exactly where I am. I'm closer to the border with China rather than to like Europe. Which makes it actually super funny because a lot of people who know me, they ask me, you should move to Europe, right? But Europe is actually very far away from me. So it's easier for me to move to Kazakhstan or Mongolia or China. So this is basically the neighboring country for me. And I don't really want to move anywhere because I don't want to leave my parents. And my parents are definitely not moving anywhere. So as much as it sucks in here, so I'll stay in here as long as it's safe in here. It is what it is, and it isn't what it isn't. All right, so let me see the target. So we're gonna have the position of the target, right? So F32 and F32 as well. Though I'm not quite sure if I want to make them floating point, but since everything is floating point, I guess it makes sense. Just walk to Germany. Just walk to Germany. If I go to east for too long, I might reach USA, I suppose. Anyway. So I think I'm going to standardize the target or the target width and height. I think that would make sense, right? So target width, let's keep it equal to bar length, right? At least for now. And target height is going to be bar thickness, right? At least for now, they're going to be the same, right? We're just going to keep them the same. Shazabak, what's up? What's up? All right, so here is the target, and the question is, how many targets are we going to have? Right, how many of them? That's a good question. So I'm planning to have some sort of a pool of targets, right? And furthermore, I may try to actually pre-compute them, right? Because we have a compile time thingy in Zig, and this is where we might potentially use them, right? So which is kind of cool. Which is kind of cool. Okay, so Zig, Lang, and let's just like see how it's going. So Google is very slow right now for me, and it might be something to do with what the Russian government is doing, because if I use VPN, I'm not using VPN right now, it is actually fast. But if I'm not using VPN, Google is very slow. It might be intentionally slowed down, so people are discouraged to use it. Which doesn't sound really that crazy, right? So essentially blocking Google might create some sort of outrage, but just slowing it down to discourage using it, I don't know. So let's take a look at the comp time. Right, so compile time. So there is a comp time, right? It places importance on the concept of what expression is known at compile time. So there is a compile time parameter, so you can specify the type. And I wonder if you just can pre-compute a certain things. Or maybe you cannot. I don't know. So is there anything like a vector? Oh, there are vectors, okay. So vector is a group of booleans integers which are operated in parallel. Ah, okay, so every language actually calls like vector. By vector they mean different things. Okay, so anonymous list literals, multidimensional arrays. It would be nice to have resizable arrays. What is a resizable array? Do we even have a resizable array in here? So anonymous list literals, multidimensional arrays, sentinel terminated arrays. Okay, so there's slices. They're probably somewhere in the standard library or something. Okay. So Zig, Lang, dynamic array, right? So consider variable length arrays. Let me see. It's closed by this and this. Also this. How is that related? So it's probably not what I want. So you're supposed to like allocate and stuff. Okay, so I think the easiest way for me to handle all that is just like have targets capacity, and I'm gonna say that we're gonna support like 128 targets, right? And I'm gonna just go the C way, right? So this is gonna be the C way, where I'm going to have the targets pool, right? So this is a targets pool where I have targets capacity, target, and there we go. I wonder if I have to initialize this entire thing, but we'll see. And then I can have targets pool count or whatnot, right? Which is initially going to be 0. So let's try to compile this entire thing. Okay. So expected while, do you want me to have... Oh, because it's a struct. Okay, so I'm supposed to have it like that. Okay. Variable must be initialized. Okay, can I just say, like, just initialize it with something? Because I don't care. Just zero initialize everything? Can you just zero initialize? Okay, so it did something, right? I suppose it's sort of like zero initialize it to some extent. Okay, cool. And when we're rendering everything, right? When we're rendering everything, we're going to just iterate through all of the targets, right? And render their rectangles. So for loops, this huge documentation. Okay, loop. Man, why is it? Okay, 4. Let's see how you do 4. Okay, so you can have items to iterate over a portion of a slice. Which makes me think, can I just do something like 4, right, 4, target pool, and then from 0 to target pool count -1. Right, so can I do something like that? And every time I render this entire thing, I need to create the rectangle. Right, I need to create the specific rectangle. Which makes a very interesting thing. Can I just have make rect, right, which accepts these floating point things, right? So f32, and just see SDL rect, right, and simply returns this thing. So we're gonna just return this stuff. So it's x and y, and here I have to do something like float to int I32. Right, so there we go. So this is return. This is what we're returning in here. And that way I should be able to actually return make rect x, y projectile size, and I can just remove everything in here, right? And the same for bar, right? So, but in case of bar, I don't have to like convert this stuff anymore. Return make rect bar x, bar y minus bar thickness divided by 2, bar length, and bar thickness. There we go. So this is what we have. So we have a standardized function that does all of the conversion and stuff like that, so we don't care anymore. Okay, go. Sadge. So now here what I can do is essentially make rect. So this is going to be target. Maybe I could do something like target rect. So since I'm iterate over portion of a slice, reslice. Which makes me think. So, and it's a value, so that means I can do something like targets. Right, and I suppose this is a closure, right? So this is kind of, it kind of looks like a Rust closure, so that means for loop accepts a closure, right? Which is rather interesting. I mean, I guess that's how we do that. Sure, why not? So, and here I can put a target, right? So then when we do a target, what I want to do in here is just to have a different color for the targets, right? So let's actually make it like green, right? And then we might as well try to render this entire thing. So this is going to be target direct, right? And since all of the targets are going to be the same color, I'm going to just move this thing in here, and there you go. Okay. So does it work? So it does not work because we don't have a target direct. So fan target direct, target, and we're going to return SDL rect. Okay, return make rect, target x, target y, target width, target height. Right, there we go. So what it didn't like, target literal found 0 target. It's yet another case of Zig being lazy, right? So there's something weird about Zig is that like you can have invalid code as long as you don't use it. It's like the entire Zig is just like a huge C++ template or something. So it's kind of weird, but I mean, that's how the language works, I suppose. So I need to somehow initialize like a huge array. So let me see how I can do that. Though, interestingly, maybe I can do the following thing, right? So I can say, okay, I'm not going to have a target in here, but if I want to initialize all of that, right, can I just do something like this and then just initialize it with a single target? Where I would say, okay, the position is going to be somewhere at 100, maybe, yeah, It's gonna be like around y. So let's put it somewhere here. And because of that, I should just like do this thing. Right, can I do this stuff? Okay, so here is the target, here is the single target. Right. So we don't have a collision with that target or anything. So we just like, it's just being there. It's just being there. But when we hit the targets, we also need to have the sort of like a marker that indicates that the target is dead. Right, so let's introduce something like dead, right, and it's gonna be boolean. I wonder if it like zero initializes everything by default. Missing field dead. Can I have something like false as the initializer, like initial thing for this? I can actually have that. That's actually pretty cool. So that means I don't have to initialize this entire thing. So that also means that I can do if not dead, right? So iterate through the target pool, and if target not dead, only then I'm going to be rendering it, right? So, but that doesn't really work well, right? Because I think you have to put parentheses around this entire stuff, otherwise it's not going to work, which is rather strange, but okay. So it would be nicer if I didn't have to do that, but it's just like it is what it is, right? Okay. So, and the next thing we need to do, we need to basically implement the collision with the targets, right? We need to implement the collision with the target. So here we implement the collision with the border, right? So this is the collision with the border. With collision with the border and the bar. So that's what makes it interesting. It's a collision with the border and the bar. What I want to do, I want to now somehow abstract this mechanism out, right? I want to abstract this mechanism out so it also includes targets, right? So what it needs to do now, it needs to check whether this true, or this true, or this true, and then it needs to check the collision with the rest of the targets. Right, so basically I need to make this condition sort of like variable, if that makes any sense. Right. So, which is doable, I think. So we can try to do that. So we do that, then we are doing condition X, right? Which is basically one of these things. And I want to start iterating through the targets as well. So this is going to be target pool, right? So where is the target pool? Targets pool. Then this is the target. This is a single target. And if target is not dead, right? If this thing is not dead, and it is colliding with this stuff, condition X, condition X or, but here we're going to be doing target rect. So this is a target rect, and we're just using the target, right? It would be also nice to somehow check, right, if the condition is already true, just like break out of the for. But I think I'm not gonna do that for now. Like I just want to make it work, right? And then later we're gonna make it more optimal or something like that. Right. Okay. So let's do the same thing for y. Right. So this is gonna be var x. Actually, y. It has to be called y. So I'm gonna take the entire thing. Right. And I'm gonna replace it with condition y, right, like so. And now let me see, right, in here I'm gonna replace so this one has to be slightly different. So let's actually put it like so. So this is gonna be proj x, and this one has to be y. Then when it's y, and there you go. So now let me rebuild everything. So, or, so this is because this one has to be not equal to 0, right? And there is a second one that is not equal to 0. Okay. All right. So it does check it. Okay, so that was kind of weird. Right. Did it actually check this stuff? I can't see if it's... Well, it's kind of checking it, though. There's something weird. Okay, so I fucked up somewhere. So this is a new X, and this is the target. As soon as it's that, okay. So then NY. Where is the problem? Where is the problem? So I think I need to add more of these things, right? I think I need to add more of the targets. Okay, let's go ahead and add them. So this one is going to be plus target width, right? Plus target width, plus some sort of a padding, right? So target, let's actually call the target padding. Right, so it's going to be const target padding, and it's going to be like maybe 20, right? So then for the rest of these things, it's going to be that, but this one is going to be multiplied by 2, right? And that one is going to be multiplied by 3. Maybe at some point I'm going to like create a compile time loop, right? But for now it's going to be just like that. Okay, so that's cool. All right, so it kind of works, but it has some... Okay, so horizontally it works, but vertically it's completely fucked up. We can clearly see that. We can clearly see that vertically it's completely fucked up. So which is nice, right? So we have more clear picture of what's going on. Pretty cool. Okay. Oh, okay. So I can see that because I didn't actually refer to the target rectangle. Okay. So that actually helped to debug it. That's actually helped to debug it. Okay. So, oh, okay. It started right in there. Okay. So maybe the bar, actually in the bar, but projectile width and height. So this is where we have it, right? X, Y. So I think it should start from the center of the bar, right? And usually in Breakout, you don't start the game until you move it for the first time. Yes. Okay, so let's actually have something like this. Started, right? Started is false, right? So then projectile is gonna start at essentially in terms of X. It starts at bar. Though I think we need to start the bar somewhere else. Right, so as you can see, bar starts in here. Let's actually make it start at the center. Right, on top of that also, just to make it like so, right? Okay, so let's make the bar start at the center. To start at the center, we need to take the window width, right? We need to take the window width and divide it by 2. So, but it's not going to start it at the center, right? So it's going to start it on the right side of the window, right? So as you can see, it's not really centered properly. So that means we need to subtract the bar length divided by 2. And that way it's going to start at the center. So hello everyone who just joined. Welcome. So also Jurassic Fighter raided us. Thank you for the raid. Okay, so it is centered now, right? And what I need to do, I need to start the projectile position at the bar, right? So essentially, in terms of X, it is going to have the bar X. Right, I suppose. So, though, if I take a look at the projectile, yeah, as you can see, X and Y is essentially left top corner, so I have to be a little bit careful with that. So Luis Rebaixado, thank you so much for 7 months. Oh my god, 7 months, Pepega. What's your most productive language? Depends on how you measure productivity. In terms of money, right? In terms of how much money I've got, I think the most productive language was Scala, right? Because I made the most amount of money by programming in Scala. Is Scala even a thing? Right? I don't know. Do people still program it? Because I did a consulting work for a company that did data mining, and they were using Scala, and I was helping them to build some infrastructure stuff related. So, in terms of money, I think the most productive one was the Scala. It just depends on how we measure productivity. Never did anything in Scala. We'll search about it someday. Nice. I guess, I don't know. I used Scala when it was at peak its popularity, and then its popularity dropped after Kotlin came out. So the thing about Scala is that it actually hit two niches simultaneously, right? So it was JVM-based Haskell, and at the time, functional programming was extra popular. It was even more popular than it is right now, right? So it was basically Haskell for JVM, and Java sucked at the time, so Scala was simultaneously a better Java. So it's a language that filled two niches simultaneously, the Haskell for JVM and a better Java. So what's interesting is that a lot of companies didn't really care about this thing being Haskell for JVM, so they primarily used Scala as a better Java. But then Kotlin came out and basically knocked out Scala out of the niche of being better Java, right? So now Scala is just Haskell for JVM. So, and because of that, it like lost like a huge portion of its popularity because of Kotlin. So that's how basically it worked. So, and I used Scala at the time when Kotlin was not a thing. So Scala is for JVM, yes. Alright, anyway, so bar x, and I suppose in terms of x I have to actually subtract the bar, actually proj size. Okay, so the projectile is square. Okay, so in terms of y, we have to take the bar y. We have to also subtract the half of the bar thickness, right? Half of the bar thickness, and also projectile size. That way we sort of establish the projectile right on top of the bar. So I remember I asked if I should learn Scala, but my friend just told me to learn Kotlin instead. Yeah, it's a good advice. In 2022, it is better to learn Kotlin than Scala. That's for sure. It makes sense to learn Scala if you're a huge functional programming fan, or want to work like specifically in like data mining or something, because there's a lot of tools written in Scala for that. Even though right now it's just like sort of fading away anyway, so yeah, it's better to learn Kotlin. Okay, so this is where we're gonna start. So I think I computed the initial state of the cannot store runtime value compile time variables. Are you serious? I mean, sure, I can just do it like that, but it's kind of sus, not gonna lie. Okay, so, and it is started basically where it's supposed to start. Okay, that's cool. Really like that. Okay, so when I want to introduce the variable basically started, right? So initially it's false, and when we update everything, we are not moving unless we start it. Okay, we can actually do it like this, because bar is not this thing either. So not paused and started. Not paused and started. So, and when we press for the first time either left or right, we're gonna say that we have started. So it's gonna be as simple as this. Yeah, there we go. Oh, yeah, of course. It's a Python. I fucked up the positioning of the bar, of the projectile. But overall, the idea actually kind of worked out. How did I fuck it up? Wait a second. Like I can't believe I fucked it up. This is because so this is a bar. Yeah, I suppose I don't have to do that. Yeah, so that's basically the problem here. Okay. So, and I suppose also it should move in the direction where you move, right? That's a separate thing. Okay, so minus porch size. I think it has to be like minus half of the porch size. Okay. Yeah, so you move to the left and it moves to the right. But that's can be fixed later, I suppose. So the thing I care about right now is I want to make the targets dead when I hit them, right? So that's what what's needed in here. We need to make them dead. Okay. So how are we going to be doing all that? And you break out the procedurally generated dungeon. And you fight for the title of a dungeon master. Anyway. So, what I need to do is the following thing. Can I have a for loop with condition, or do I have to break it out? Which programming language you have been using commercially and for how long? A lot of them, actually. Like I've used a lot of languages commercially, and I used a lot of languages not commercially. Okay. So if condition, just break immediately. As soon as you've got the condition, just like break. Interestingly enough, if we've got this thing, if we've got this thing, that means I also need to do that equal true, right? So this is the two things that I want to add in here. If condition y, target dead, true. When port going commercial, it was already gone commercial. Because people were subscribing while I was developing it. So, all right. So why are you saying to me that it's assigned to constant? How is that a constant? I made the... Oh, I see. So I'm iterating it as a constant. Where are you living? That's a very creepy question. Why would you ask something like that? Okay. So I suppose iterate over slices by reference, specifying the capture value is a pointer. Okay. So I suppose this is what I want to do, right? And will it work? So expected target, found target. Okay, so can I just do it like that? When are you leaving? Oof. Okay, we are iterating by reference. Okay, how do you do reference? Pointers. Pointers. So single item pointer is exactly okay. Those types are closely to obtain a single pointer use, but to dereference a pointer. That's a very interesting documentation. So to obtain a single item pointer. Okay, derefer. Okay, I see. So to dereference a pointer, you do it like that. That's weird. Okay, sure. I mean, it's just a syntactical thing. I don't mind. It's a really weird way of doing that, but sure, why not? Does that Jai? Yes. Oh, and all of them are dead, by the way. Speaking of. So how did they all died? I don't understand. So I would expect. So maybe it didn't break. That could be the thing. That could be that the break didn't really work. So I need to check loops again. So 4. How do you break? Similar to while loops, when you break from a loop, the else branch is not evaluated. Okay. Well, I suppose... okay. So this one is weird. Okay. Oh, right, so that seems to work. Okay, yes, it's perfect. That's precisely what I wanted. That is actually perfect. Yes. Look at that. We have the basic mechanics of the game. Like a very basic mechanics, and it works. It's amazing. Okay, so I can add the 4th one in here. Okay. Easy. This game is easy. Boom. That's the easiest game. That's funny. Okay. So what else do we have in here? Easy win, 0 death. It's actually kind of funny how it just worked out. So what I want to do, the last thing that is left is basically redirect the projectile, the ball, according to the direction of the bar, right? So when we move it for the first time, right, when we're only starting, we have to give the projectile a certain direction. By the way, like, we don't even have to have the started. Look at that. We don't really have to do the started, do we? Yeah, we still need to have the started. So I thought maybe we could set the projectile dx dy as 0, right? And when you move sort of for the first time, you assign it, but it's not clear how you would handle the y, right? You can assign the x, but it's not clear how you do y. So I'm gonna keep it like that then. I'm gonna keep it like that. Right. So now, let me actually commit first, right? Because I'm afraid that I'm gonna like lose a lot of stuff. So I implemented a lot of things in here, right? So implement almost all the game mechanics. I hope this sound, like, from the outside is not too loud. Oh, it's not too loud, so the microphone doesn't pick it up. Also, there is this mechanic where the bounce trajectory depends on which part of the board the projectile is hitting. Yeah, I think there was something like that, but I don't really want to overcomplicate that, though we can do that. Right, because we know from which side we hit it, right? So we know the horizontal and vertical collision. So, okay. What do I want to do? So here, if started, right? If started, we just do that, right? So that's the usual thing. If not started, projectile x minus 1. If not started, projectile x is 1. So we can do something like this. dx, not x. Okay, it's fun. All right. Yeah. Okay. So we can redirect that. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So depending on where we go, yeah, there we go. So another thing we can do, right, is that when we hit the bar, right, when we hit the bar, dx. Yes. I'm just still thinking. Okay, let's start with the x. I think it's gonna be the last mechanic that I'm gonna add. So I'm moving this stuff to here. Right. If we hit this thing, we just like change the direction, right? We simply change the direction. If condition, right? Not condition. Man, it's kind of... There should be a way to sort of abstract these two pieces of code away, but my brain is incapable of doing that yet. Right, so if this is not true, I'm gonna do condition x or, right, and as soon as it becomes true, right, so that means we did the horizontal thing, we did the horizontal stuff, and I suppose it doesn't matter, right, I suppose it doesn't matter. I think the only thing that matters in that case is the vertical collision. Okay, so we can actually keep it like that. Okay, so the vertical collision is more important. So that means I'm gonna focus on it. Right, if not, condition y, condition y, or, which makes the code even less reusable, but that's fine. Right, if it is true, we're not only doing that thing, but we also setting projectile dx to the bar dx, but it very much depends on the on whether the bar is moving, right? So it's gonna be something like and bar dx is not equal to 0. So it's a complicated logic, but it makes sense, right? Hopefully. So let me try to see. It is complicated because I didn't spend any time improving it, right? Right. So now I can redirect its movement, right? If it's like, which is actually pretty cool, I think. Yeah, you see, I can just redirect it to the right. Like, it was moving there, but then I just redirected it. So this is kind of stuff I can do. one more time. Yeah, so that's what I can do. Okay, bye-bye. So that's the mechanics I wanted to have, essentially. So another thing we can do, we can try to add more of the targets. It would be even cooler if we could generate the targets, if you know what I mean. Right. So somehow generate them, but I'm not sure how to do the compile time stuff. Ooh, oof, 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 oof. This is not X, it has to be Y. Right, so let me go here. So this is gonna be something like this. Okay, so that's another one. So we kind of don't have the mechanics of death, but maybe it doesn't really matter. Right, it's not supposed to be like a full game, but maybe we should make it a full game. So... 15. Okay, sure. And now... this one's gonna be 200. Okay. We can add even more. So, yeah. Oh, so it has to be not 300 but 250. Okay. Okay. So it's not supposed to be like a full game or anything, so I just implemented the basic mechanics, right? So this is just the basic mechanics, just to test out the language. And it would be nice to be able to generate this pool at compile time, but I'm not really sure how to do that properly. So let me do a committee, right? So redirect projectile based on the bar direction, right? So, and I'm gonna push that right into the repo. So it should be available in on GitHub. So if you have a Zeek compiler, you should be able to actually compile and test it out, right? So so there is no score mechanics and there is no death mechanics, right? So, but this is because it was not the goal of the project to make a complete game. It was a goal to just like make the main mechanics, just to see how the language will work out. So yeah, let me make a screenshot, right? And update it as well. So let me put it here. So this is what we have. Paste it. And thumbnail like so. Date thumbnail. And push that. I'm using Emacs. That's for sure. Yes. Okay, so I'm ready to give it a star. So don't forget to give it a star, so you can find the source code in here of this thing. So yeah, everything is under MIT. If you want to modify something or if you want to use something, feel free to do that. So that's basically the entire game, so to speak. Right, it's a pretty simple one. I really like how simple it is. So the collision stuff is a little bit overcomplicated, but I'm pretty sure, like, you can see that there's two parts in here in the code that repeat themselves, almost like. And I have a feeling that it should be possible to compress them out. Though a code that is repeating twice is not something worth compressing. Usually something that is worth compressing is something that is repeated at least 3 times, right? Or maybe 4 and 5. 2 times is just like, it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. Especially these two codes are slightly different, right? So specifically the code that checks the vertical collision also does the redirection that is not part of this code, so they're not particularly compressible because there's slight difference between them. So that's the most annoying thing about the code, about the duplicate code. It's just like you have two pieces of code that looks almost identical, like almost. There's one small thing that is different which makes them not compressible, and it's just like, okay, so I guess I'll have to keep them around. Maybe there is a different approach to organizing all of that, but yeah, anyway. So that's basically everything that I wanted to finish. Like, I wish I had enough energy on the first stream to finish it, but I really needed to make a break. So, yep, that's the final thing in here. Does anyone have any questions maybe before I go? So yeah, it's pretty cool. Really good. All right, I guess I gotta go. Thanks everyone who is watching right now. I appreciate that. Have a good one, and I see you on the next stream. I don't know what we're gonna be doing on the next stream, but yeah, we'll see. Probably we're gonna continue doing Tetris and Jai. Right. All right. Thanks everyone for watching. Love you all. Mwah.